I knew something was wrong before I reached the porch. The driveway was full in that careful, deliberate way, cars parked tightly, no space left by accident. My sister's SUV. My uncle's sedan with the dented bumper. Even my best friend's car, the one I'd helped him buy 2 years ago, when his credit fell apart. I remember thinking, absurdly, that I'd parked crooked. The house looked the same as it always did on Thanksgiving. Lights warm. Curtains half open. The smell of roasted turkey drifting out like an invitation that had already been sent and accepted by everyone else. I rang the bell. My mother opened the door halfway and didn't smile. My father stepped into the gap immediately, as if they'd rehearsed it. They stood shoulder to shoulder, blocking the entrance. The heat from inside spilled past them, laughter followed, someone clinking glasses. "We need to talk," my mother said. My father didn't look at me. He looked over my shoulder, at the driveway, as though confirming I'd come alone. "You can't come in," he said. Not angry, careful, almost apologetic. I waited. Silence has a way of forcing people to finish what they start. "It's just better this way," my mother added. "For today." "For who?" I asked. They exchanged a glance that told me the answer before either spoke. "For everyone." Behind them, through the narrow opening, I saw the dining table. My sister was laughing, head thrown back, wineglass in hand. My uncle was mid-story, animated, performing. And at the far end, my best friend caught sight of me. Our eyes met. He froze for half a second, long enough to recognize me, then looked away and laughed louder at something my uncle said. No one else noticed. Or they did, and chose not to. Something in me settled then. Not broke, settled, like dust after a door slams. I nodded once. "Okay," I said. Relief crossed my parents' faces so quickly it almost hurt to see. They stepped back, already closing the door, already returning to their table. I walked back to my car. My hands were steady when I unlocked it. I sat for a moment without starting the engine. The house behind me hummed with life, music turned up, voices overlapping, a world continuing without pause. I took out my phone and made one call. It rang twice. "Hey," I said when she answered. "It's me, I need to initiate the compliance review we discussed." A pause. Papers shuffling. "Are you sure?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "Tonight." "Right," she replied, calm, professional. "We'll send someone over." I thanked her and hung up. Then I waited. Time moves strangely when you're no longer pleading with it. I watched steam fog the windows of the house. I imagined plates being passed. Someone carving the turkey. My phone stayed quiet, just as I expected. Exactly 19 minutes later, headlights swept across the lawn. 2 official vehicles pulled up in front of my parents' house. Doors opened. Calm figures stepped out, no urgency, no drama. Authority never needs to hurry. I stayed in my car. The knock on the door was firm. Not loud, unmistakable. I couldn't hear the words, but I saw the effect immediately. The door opened wider this time. Faces appeared behind my parents, confused, smiling at first, then stiffening. My sister leaned forward, frowning. My uncle stood up too quickly, voices rose. Questions overlapped. Phones started vibrating. Mine lit up first, my sister's name. I didn't know my uncle. Then my mother. Then my best friend. The house that had excluded me 20 minutes earlier, now revolved around me entirely. I watched my father gesture sharply toward the driveway. Toward my car. He looked smaller from this distance. My mother pressed a hand to her chest, her mouth moving fast. Another call. A text this time. "What did you do?" I let it sit. Authority doesn't explain itself to spectators. It explains itself to records. The review was about finances I'd been quietly responsible for years, accounts in my name. Obligations I'd been carrying while being treated like a temporary guest in my own family. Nothing illegal. Nothing dramatic. Just long-standing assumptions suddenly made formal. Inside the house, voices climbed into shouting. Someone cried. My sister stormed past the window, phone to her ear, pacing. Finally, I answered when my mother called again. "What is happening?" she demanded. No greeting now. No softness. "I told you before," I said evenly. "I wouldn't keep covering things if I wasn't treated like family." "This is Thanksgiving," she snapped. "I know," I said. "That's why I came." There was a long silence on the line, broken by muffled arguing in the background. "Can you make them leave?" she asked finally. "No," I replied. "That's not how it works." Another pause. I can almost hear her recalculating how to speak to me now that the ground had shifted. "We need to talk," she said. "We can," I said. "Another day." I hung up before she could respond. I didn't wait to see how it resolved. Authority had arrived, the process was in motion. Whether they smoothed it over or tore at each other afterward wasn't mine to manage anymore. I started the car and pulled away. As I drove, my phone buzzed again and again. But the urgency in those vibrations felt distant, muted. The house shrank in my rearview mirror, its lights blurring into the dark. There was no rush of triumph. No satisfaction. Just a quiet clarity. They hadn't invited me to the table. But they'd been eating on borrowed ground, and for the first time, they knew it. The loss was still there. I felt it as the road opened ahead of me. A hollow space where family warmth was supposed to live. That didn't vanish just because power shifted. But something else remained too. I had walked away without begging. I had spoken without raising my voice. And when authority knocked, it wasn't to punish. It was to rebalance something long ignored. Thanksgiving ended without me at the table. But for the first time, I wasn't the one left outside.